Hey, let's talk autistic history and the Autism Wars. This is part 20 in a series. So we left off in 1993 and I shared the Don't Mourn for Us article that was published in the Our Voices newsletter for Autism Network International, or ANI, back in 93. And it was the same framework that Jim Sinclair, autistic advocate, shared to parents at the International Autism Festival in Toronto, Canada that year. So it was quite a statement to get that included, because the year before, this piece had been denied by the Autism Society of America's president at the time, with specific instructions to the board to not accept that piece. Do not let it in. Well, it got in under the radar the next year at the international conference because of it being submitted to Autism Society Canada, and they weren't aware of the fuss around it at ASA. So in it went, and it was read, and what an incredible autistic voice right there in 1993. And who would have known they existed if it wasn't for this bit of history, right? Being documented and all of that. Because these parent-founded and parent-run autism organizations, boy, they get into a space where they just really dig their heels in and pretend that autistic adults don't exist to the rest of the world, even while they are actively silencing and pushing out the voices of autistic people. So yeah, this is 1990s. So we're setting up the framework here for the Autism Wars. We're setting up some of that conflict that started going. Autistics started out in the autism community on their servers and had to leave because of the hostility and everything that started happening during the Flame Wars and the Snore War. And they got their own listserv, and now we have the autistic community and the autism community, and these are vastly different communities going forward. So next I'm going to share with you the rise of parent-founded autism organizations. This is the next part of a series that I started writing last year. I haven't finished, but we'll get there. This is Inventing and then Cashing in on the Autism Epidemic, Part 1. I'm going to continue with the rise of parent-founded autism organizations. By the late 90s, parents of autistics feared that more autistics were being born than ever before. They spoke of an autism monster that snatched children while they slept in their cribs and trapped them in their brains, and then kept them locked away from their parents forever. And these attentive parents were helpless to stop the autism. Some of them stated that autism was worse than death. And they were left with a broken child who couldn't express or feel emotions. They couldn't respond to their parents with an "I love you too." Autism devastated these families, and they demanded that scientists find a cure, and they find it now. With today's technology and abilities, a cure for autism had to be possible. They just needed to fund more research. And this is when autism began being held as a hidden epidemic by parents and autism professionals at that time. They believed, we are in belief systems here again, not facts, belief. They believed a drastic increase in the autistic population would unfairly burden society, even bankrupt it, due to the predicted costs associated with supports and services throughout our lifespans. Now pay attention to this part very carefully, because this is a huge fighting ground, this turf area right here where services and support They don't want to put all this money into services and support. We're going to bankrupt the whole damn world. Oh my God, they got to do something. We can't just let this nation and this world fall apart because autistics are being born in epidemic numbers. Holy fuck. What are we going to do? Anyhow, they said soon autistics wouldn't be the only ones suffering autism. All of society would plunge into a pit of despair if a cure wasn't found. A war on autism must be waged, and it must be won. If it wasn't, the end of humankind was near. And if you think I'm exaggerating, I am seriously low-key compared to what these organizations and parents were out there doing. I cannot emphasize enough this, but that's okay. I'm going to share more with you too. It's not an accident that the description of autism began sounding like a movie trailer for a blockbuster action thriller horror flick in the mid-90s. No, it's not an accident, and it's not a coincidence. The tragedy version of autism, popular among parents and professionals, went absolutely viral after movie producer, Hollywood, here we go, you're getting ready for that Hollywood connection and those Hollywood celebrities coming in and speaking over us, for us, about us, without us, and pretending we aren't even here. All the way up to testifying to Congress. But hey, we'll get there. So John Shaystack and his wife Portia Iverson were a Hollywood power couple, and at that time parents to a newly diagnosed autistic child named Dove. When these privileged parents learned there was no known cause and no cure for autism, they lost hope for their son's future. And they decided that something had to be done. And so in 1995, they launched Cure Autism Now, or CAN. Oh yeah. With the power of parent advocates and more funding for autism research, they believed a cure was possible and that it could be discovered in their son's lifetime. And when these parents were told you can't actually cure autism, they refused to accept the facts and marched on with their crusade. So let's talk really quickly what we know already. Autism prevalence is something that these parents are going to keep hitting on. Like there's a mystery here, like there's a great epidemic here, and there's not. But it doesn't matter because their voices are going to be heard and they're going to cause a panic. Oh my goodness. And the facts are, we already know you can't cure autism. It's a neurodevelopmental difference here. Can't do that unless it's to prevent them being born. And that's the same cure society has for Down syndrome. So this is we're going to start getting into it now with Hollywood and movies and actors and commercials, and it just starts getting real wild here. So yeah, let's pick this back up in part 21, and I'm going to end this here, and we're going to come back to where these privileged parents and what they do. Because we're still living the fallout today. We're still suffering their work today. And back then, autistics were doing everything they could in their power to get these people to listen and to understand the harms that they're causing, and these people just don't care. None of them. No. But there were some public go-betweens, and I'll share those with you coming up in part 21.